News First, Newsline with Faraz Shaukat Ali.
Good morning, I am Banduli Jayasekara. My friend and colleague Faraz Shaukat Ali is still on vacation. He'll be back next week. He saw the whales, the blue whales of Sri Lanka, and we have a special guest today, and today is also the World Tourism Day. We have the evergreen, or shall we say ever blue, Howard Martinstein, independent marine researcher. Good morning, Howard.
Good morning, Bandula. Very good morning.
Good to have you again.
Thank you.
Especially you were with us with our Sinhala program.
Yes.
Now, my first question is,
Yes.
I know you have really dedicated your life to help the marine research.
Yes.
Now, today's World Tourism Day.
Yes.
The traffic in Min area, they are chasing away the elephants.
Yes.
Then the traffic, the boats in Miris and Trincomalee, except for the Sri Lankan Navy,
Yes.
I must say give them the due, chasing away our whales. What will happen to Sri Lankan marine resources?
It's a very, very good question, Bandula. So, let's look at this. Marine tourism is not perfect. Let's acknowledge that. And I think there are a few points to be made here. The first thing is that it's a far better alternative to commercial fishing that goes unmanaged. That's number one. So it provides a tremendous economic benefit to the country and an alternative to fishermen. Right? So these are two very important points for us. The third thing I would say about this, Bandula, is that interest in and sympathy towards marine mammals does a lot more for conservation than we can imagine. So a lot of these NGOs who are involved in conservation get their funding because of that. So these are three very important points that we have to look at.
But are they using those funds properly?
That is questionable. But certainly this is where we need to look at now. For example, I just Googled yesterday events for today. And I just couldn't find any maritime related events at today's World Tourism Day. If I looked at the history...
This only event.
This is the only event.
Only event.
If I look at the history, there's the occasional beach cleanup. Now we have all these dive operators around the country. Why are they not getting together, going and doing reef cleanups? Why are there not workshops being conducted on a day like this to educate people?
And after all, we are an island, Howard.
As
islanders.
Absolutely. And as an island nation, it's actually somewhat, I feel embarrassed as Sri Lankan to say that we know so little about the ocean. And that is a really important point, that we really need to up the ante on that and introduce more programs starting with the schools and into the adults. And at the same time, as we bring in regulations, that we bring them in with relevant education programs to explain as to why these things are so important to us.
What sort of regulation do we need?
Well, there are some regulations there, but we need more tightening. We need to understand. The biggest problem is we don't understand very much about how to make these policies. So it's not about saying don't do something or just giving approvals. With that, we need to explain as to how these things have to be done. So, we promote ecotourism, right? And that ecotourism it's a loose word that we use in Sri Lanka. it should be ethical tourism. When we talk about ethical tourism, it is a lot more precise, and people will understand what ethical means. And so this is very important, to get into ethical tourism and move away from eco-tourism.
Yeah, like you say, just a word.
It's just a word, eco. Now everybody says they're eco. Yeah.
I'm sure our viewers know,
Yeah.
Harvard has written a beautiful book. It's Out of the Blue. And this is dedicated to his loving brother, late Cedric Martinstein. And we will discuss about this book later. So, when did you come out with this book?
This was I brought this book out in 2013. As soon as the whale watching regulations came out, I had to hold back till then because my conscience wouldn't let me bring it out till then. So so that's when I did.
So let's talk about people love dolphins. Let's talk about the dolphins of Sri Lanka.
Right.
All yours.
Okay, yeah. So dolphins, actually dolphins and whales, both, they're all part of the marine life that we have. We have 15 dolphins and 11 whales. And when you look at that,
when you say 15 dolphins, if you could elaborate, I'm sure our viewers would like to know.
So the smallest dolphin being the spinner dolphin, and that's the most acrobatic dolphin in the world. So much so that there is actually no need to go to a marine park. You just have to go out to sea, and it's just a spectacular event to see 2-3 dolphins, doing the acrobats at the same time.
That's their nature. When they see human beings, they move on. How does that?
Yeah, it is also their nature. But also they love human beings. You find that if you are traveling alongside, that they will come to the bow of your boat because they want human interaction. And this usually happens in the morning hours because these dolphins they feed at night in the open ocean, and every morning they come towards the shoreline to rest, socialize, play, and to avoid predators. So when they see humans, that's an added bonus for them to have a little bit of fun.
You said 15, this is just one. What about the other 14, if you can tell our viewers?
Yeah, so all these dolphins, spinners of course are the most abundant, and they're all right around our ocean. The other dolphins, it starts with the largest dolphin being the orca, which everybody's familiar with. That's a transient that passes through our waters. We see the orca every month in our waters. And there are a number of other blackfish, what we call blackfish. Actually, fish is the wrong word to use, but I would say black dolphins. There are another 5 species there, and the other 6 are oceanic type of dolphins. So these animals are found in various locations around the country.
Yeah, can you specifically tell us where exactly?
Yeah. So they vary from species to species, and also in my studies I found out that there are certain preference for depth distribution. So not only do we have a geographical distribution associated with each species, we also have a depth distribution.
But where do you find them? Where exactly can you find these dolphins in Sri Lanka?
All around Sri Lanka.
All around.
All around Sri Lanka. But different times of the year, different species, and in different quantities.
But we are not promoting. I mean, lots of people don't know this. They talk of Trinco, they talk of Mirissa, they talk of Kalpitia. But what are the other areas where can't we promote them?
Yes, certainly. We have Bandula, we are very fortunate that we have a number of submarine canyons. And so these are the ones that are closest to the shore, are the ones that have initially been selected as whale watching locations, with the exception of Kalpitia, where the continental shelf is very narrow. So since they are day boats, Bandula, you don't have that much reach. But certainly if you had liverboat vessels, then certainly your reach is tremendous and your opportunities are much, much greater. Because every time you go out, you have to come back as well.
Where do you photograph this? You photograph this. Let's.
So this is a picture of an orca, which is the largest dolphin in the world. This was my 4th sighting of orcas in Sri Lanka. And I spent about 4 hours, and then I know people wouldn't believe that we get orcas in Sri Lanka.
But so people mix up, orcas as whales, and that's
actually yes, because now that is quite distinctively because of the black and white. But certainly, otherwise to the layperson, they all generally tend to look the same and very difficult to distinguish. But the more time you spend and the more you look, the more differences you see. Not only just in the morph of the animal, but also in its behavior.
Yeah. How many types of whales do we get, if you can explain that?
So we have 11 whales, and we break them up into 3 families. The first one being the rorquals, which are baleen whales. Those are whales without teeth. And then, so we have 4 of them there. Then we have 3 in the sperm whale family, and then another 4 in the beaked whale family. Now the beaked whales, for example, you have to go beyond 40 miles to see them. So these are not really within the range of day boats. And it's really a lifetime experience if you were to see a beaked whale.
How do people reach there? Is there any facility, or even with the Navy or any other tour operators?
Yeah, and at the moment not, because you really need to be able to live aboard. And
for how long?
Well, for a few days. March is a great month to go and see the beaked whales of our coast, but you have to travel quite a distance out of sea.
Isn't there any way of promoting this to the world, this type of thing, beaked whales?
Yes, by making sure that we start to move. Since the war ended, we spent so much money on land infrastructure, but we have forgotten the fact that we have an ocean that's 20 times larger than our land area. We haven't put any money into the marine infrastructure, so we really need to focus a little bit there. This is really because of lack of interest, really, that we don't understand the potential of our ocean. So it's about time that we start looking at bringing in yacht marinas, and it's with that we will have the multi-day vessels to be able to go out and enjoy our marine life. So it's not just the whales and dolphins, it's the whale sharks, the manta rays, the mobula rays. There's so much out there in the deep ocean.
So have you made any representation to the authorities to improve these, to discuss these marine resources?
I have what I have done, Bandula, is that I have created a website which basically makes people aware, and I educate.
What's the website, if you can tell our
sure.
viewers?
It's the website is called Sri Lanka's Amazing Maritime, and it's www.slam.lk, and so it's very informative, and it brings to the surface the potential that we have for tourism for the future. So, anyway, it's all legacy work.
But what is the government doing about it? This is very interesting. Okay, you have created this website. What is the government doing?
There's not a lot
what
happening
can
there. Because before I created my website, I went to the tourism website to see how much of it was there, and I realized that really we were so lacking in knowledge that I had to create that website to complement it.
But this comes under the Ministry of Wildlife, right?
Well, promotion comes under tourism. Wildlife
protection
comes under wildlife. Yes.
But what are they doing?
Wildlife is doing some protection. There are protection. For example, before there was shark finning out at sea, and now you have to bring the entire shark to land. But Bandula, the whale shark, why are we not protecting it? You don't have, for me, that's a no-brainer. The whale shark is protected in our adjacent waters such as Maldives and India, but not Sri Lanka.
Why not?
It beats me because you don't have to do any research. The Maldives is an entire whale sanctuary. The tourism, these animals are worth 20 to 50 times more alive than dead. And this whale finning and gill raker being shipped to the Far East, the profits are not made by Sri Lankans. The profits are made overseas. Whereas here we have our resources, we can profit so much. A model of this is really, look at Mirissa, where the fishermen have created that community for tourism. And how much, what a difference that place is now. It has just thrived under that model. So can't people see that if we do a little less fishing and move more towards tourism, that economically, that everybody will benefit?
I'm told by the Sri Lankan Navy that you have helped them a lot and you work very closely with them and you have helped the fishermen.
Yes.
Could you tell our viewers more about that? You have produced a special book to help the fishermen.
Yes.
Or the tour operators.
Yes. I know. I do visit all the fishing bardias and spend time there because it's actually a two-way street. I learn a lot from them. and I also share my knowledge with them. But what I try to do is, what I learn from them, I go back and look for a scientific explanation. Because although they have the knowledge which has been passed down from generation to generation, when something differs, they have a difficulty in understanding why that is different. But if you look for the scientific explanation, you will find some interesting discoveries from their knowledge. So that I find useful. At the same time, I share with them my knowledge with them, and for example, I have created a field guide for the fishermen, so that when they take tourists out to sea, that they can show the tourists what they are looking at. So it's not just a whale and a dolphin, which is how we started out when we started this whale watching back around 2008, 2009. But it also, now they progressed to blue whale, sperm whale, and spinner dolphin. Very few people knowledge goes beyond that. So that book helps to increase people's knowledge, and also to give the tourists a better experience.
Howard, we did 2 programs, Pathika and Newsline, with the Sri Lankan Navy, and we went whale watching. And we saw that sea lane, all those huge tankers they move.
Yes.
And I'm told that many whales get killed. Is that true?
No, there's no evidence.
There's no evidence.
I mean, it's all speculative. We have not got any scientific evidence to prove that.
There's no issue there.
I wouldn't say that there's no issue there. To date, we don't have scientific evidence to prove that a whale has been killed by a ship.
But there were talks that they want
a live whale.
Yeah, move the sea lane.
Yes.
Have you heard about it?
Yeah. In fact, I was there. There was a 3-day conference, and I did one of the opening presentations there. So those are, NGOs and other funded organizations that are looking to move the sea lanes. But it's not that simple, Bandula. First, you have to collect evidence that this is an actual issue.
So that is wrong.
Well, it's preliminary, I would say. We need to actually do postmortems. There was one whale that came in on the bow of a ship. Now, was it hit when it was dead or alive? We don't know. There was no postmortem done. But it's very easy for the British newspapers to pick that up and say, whale headlines, whale killed while sleeping in shipping lane. This is the tabloid newspaper. Come on.
But however, there's another question. Now, I know you have dedicated your life to help Sri Lanka in this marine research. And but I mean, I want to be blunt here, but there are certain, I don't approve this, certain pundits come from overseas, they say various things and they go away, but whereas you live here and work with these people.
Yes.
How did you get interested?
Interest comes from my childhood. Bandul, I think I must have been born with fins, into a family that really looked at the marine life with utmost importance. And it starts from my father, who was a pioneer and respected businessman in maritime. And then after that, in my teenage years, I was very much influenced by my older brother Cedric, who was virtually a legend when it came to marine life, water sports, and naval life. So it was naturally that I just took to it like a fish in the water.
So it looks like you spend your own money and help people and do this research.
Yeah, and that's how I started off. It was all right on my own. Nobody knew who I was, and I had all the time in the world to just totally focus on doing research and studying these animals. And I really, benefited so much from it. It's not like that now. Things have changed. But I was so glad that I had those years to do all that work. And that's why the book is titled Out of the Blue, because I came out of the blue.
But I have to tell Sri Lanka that there are people, they come and go. But this is a simple man, but to me, he's the most respected man in Sri Lanka, who's out of the blue, out of the blues, who is doing so much research for this country. Like some people try to, I don't want to name names, but people try to mention various people. They use Sri Lanka for their gains, but it's not. Harvard Martinstein doesn't do that. He has dedicated himself to help Sri Lanka. Let's now we are talking about schools.
Yes,
a little while ago. Are you going around schools? Are you educating children? What are your plans, and have you any programs to help
Yes.
and educate children?
Yeah, Bandula, the key to that is having a singular version of my book. So until I have that in place, it's really not going to be that productive. Getting that out to the masses is so important. So that the single and Tamil version of some of the work that I do is really important.
When are you going to do that?
Well, there are two. Something was in the works actually 2 years ago, more than 2 years ago, and it didn't materialize. So I've restarted that again after our last interview, and so now I have two parties that are working on that. So I'm hoping, because I'm so dependent on others to get that done, because I'm unfortunately not able to do it myself. Otherwise, Bandula, I did do everything myself. The book was designed by me, the website I designed myself.
But even the website you can use in Sinhala and Tamil, I'm sure.
It's a translation.
It's a translation.
Yeah. If I have somebody who can do the translation, I have no problem putting that on the website. Having the website in Sinhala and in Tamil, that's not a problem. No problem.
There is another thing. In fact, we are going to have a special guest next week on Patika Dan Newsline to discuss about swimming.
Yeah.
Now there is a big problem in Sri Lanka.
Yeah.
Okay, we are an island.
Yeah.
But people are scared of the water.
Yeah.
They can't swim. Most of the people can't swim.
Yes.
Why is that? What's the problem?
The problem is, I don't like to use the word.
No, please.
Yeah, ignorance.
Let's be open.
It's ignorance, and it's because they have not been exposed to it.
Please tell them. Tell them what you think.
Yeah.
Tell the viewers.
You really need now. This is how I got into it, because I was forced into being exposed. My brother took me at the age of 12 and threw me in the water and said, "Now swim to the other boat." This is out in the deep ocean. I never looked back since then. So in the same way, we really need to educate people, give people opportunity. We need to have swimming pools. When you go, the sea is not something that you should fear because you don't know. You should fear it because you know. And that is what I define as danger. So people pay a lot of money for danger, right? But this fear without knowledge is very dangerous, and this is something we got to turn around in Sri Lanka, because they are scared to face it because it's so big and they think it's complicated. But nothing in this world is complicated unless we complicate it.
What about we have plenty of rivers and lakes, and I have met several people who have joined the Navy from places like Anuradhapura.
And they can't swim,
No, they can, because they have the rivers and lakes.
Yes. It's not very easy to learn to swim in a river or a lake, Bandula, because of the currents. So we need more swimming pools around the country and more opportunities. Like, in the West, every village or every town has swimming pools that are available for the public. So it doesn't have to be in a school. It could be in every village that we have a public pool for people to learn to swim in. But that is the best way to learn, because it's a bit dangerous in the rivers.
Yeah, but then we have facilities. I mean, we have the sea all around.
The sea. Exactly. I mean, when I look back in the 60s, you didn't see a Sri Lankan on a beach, right? The number of people who went diving, you could count on your fingers. That's how it was. It was with the introduction of tourism that people started getting involved in the beach and then starting to go out to sea. So in the same way that has happened, that is some progress that we have made, but not enough. We are still lagging tremendously. We are still losing out on the beauty that we have in our island nation, and that we are missing out and enjoying a lot of things.
Take a country like Australia.
Yeah.
Every possible place there's a boat.
Yes.
They own boats.
Yes.
What's happening to Sri Lanka?
Yeah.
Why have we
still back in the pre-war era? Iran isn't Bandula. We haven't still built any marinas, and the harbors have to be upgraded. So we have to build. We have to. I mean, there's some yacht building that is starting now, but slowly we are moving in that direction.
Or is it because it's expensive? Now, take for instance the Kalani River. In another country, there will be plenty of boats.
Yeah.
But here we don't have that.
Yes. It's not so much the expense now. Let's take Kerala.
The houseboats.
Houseboats, come on. I mean, how is that expensive? I mean, what a wonderful trip that is. I've done that, and it's just an amazing experience being one with nature when you go out in one of those vessels.
So we had the Dutch ambassador on our program, and
Yeah.
she said they are trying to help these waterways, trying
Yeah.
to help Sri Lanka.
Yeah.
Because that's the area we could like improve and
for
like
sure.
on our tourism.
Yes, yes, certainly on the maritime area we fall short. I mean, you go to visit any country, even the Maldives or Seychelles or whatever, and we are lagging way behind. The opportunities are tremendous going forward, but infrastructure needs to be in place.
Now you describe yourself as an independent marine
Yes.
researcher.
Yeah.
What's new? What's latest?
In what sense?
Independent marine research.
Yeah, independent is very important to me, right? Because if you give me money and tell me, do this project like shipping lanes or something like that, then my reporting can be biased, Bandila. Let's face it, because you're funding me. So it's very important that I don't get into that sort of situation, that I can tell you the truth. I can tell you the way it is. This is the fact. So being independent is very important to me.
But
Yeah.
what about the finances? You finance yourself?
Yes, I mean, up to the time I did the book, my finances were pretty bad. But in Sri Lanka you don't need a lot. If I had more money, obviously I can do a lot more, and my reach would be greater. But I do a little bit of sometimes if I'm in an area I do tours, and that helps to subsidize my research work.
But do you think? No, you continue.
Yeah, I
After
was going to say, but I do a lot of sea time, which is where the greatest expense goes, because you got to stay in a hotel and rent a boat. And I have to thank my younger brother Dallas, because he has a resort in Kalpitia, and I can tell you I did a hell of a lot of research out of there, and that helped defray a lot of the costs for the work that I did.
So you use the boats and he used the bikes, right?
Yeah.
But do you think the country
Yeah.
has given your due? I don't think they have
no,
honored you.
they don't even know I exist.
But like I said, the Navy has
But I
lots
start-
of respect for you. And
Yes, I know. But
they-
that's not important. It's not about me, Bandula. It's about...
no. What
Yeah.
I'm saying is because
Yeah.
you have done so much
Yes.
for this country.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I will continue doing that. I don't look for recognition. I don't look over my shoulder. I don't look behind, and I keep focused, because this is all legacy work. Down the road, people will look 10, 20 years down the road and say, "Wow, that guy was right."
How?
Okay.
What have you got to tell our viewers?
Yes.
Say what you have to say.
Why?
on the sea, the blue sea, the whales, the dolphins, and the research, because I think there's a lack of awareness.
Certainly, there's a lack of awareness, and we have a.
Tell them hard
I mean,
what you want from them.
what I
help
want from
this
them.
country.
Yeah. Well, I think what we need is for you to learn a lot more about the animals, so that one day when you get into a position of power, of making policy, that you will understand how to go forward and bring in these regulations, and not only bring in the regulations, but also to bring in education programs to go with it. So this is very important. For example, Bandula, you talked about these boats chasing these whales or whatever. I mean, you tell people don't do this, don't do that, they will do exactly that, me included, right? But if you tell me that when you chase a whale, just imagine you put a collar around your neck, right? And when you chase that whale, start tightening that collar. How do you feel? That is exactly how that whale feels, right? If you can explain that, the people will understand that, right? So me saying don't go within 100 meters, it's got to be a bit more to it, right? You need to understand why. So educating people, and I tell people, try to understand. And we are all responsible when we visit the marine environment, that we are all responsible for that environment. So don't leave it up to the enforcers to ensure that our resources are protected. Every time I go out, every time you go out, every operator that goes out, every skipper has to take responsibility. Why is it we don't put monitors on these whale watching boats? Couple of monitors. Well, since all these whale watching boats come together, put monitors on there.
That's an interesting idea, yeah.
You know, it's simple.
Yeah.
Bandula,
Thank you very much, Harvard.
Yeah.
What we want to tell Sri Lanka is listen to the whales, listen to the dolphins, listen to Harvard Martinstein. Thank you very much for joining Newsline.
Newsfirst Newsline with Faraz Shaukat Ali.